Hello guys, how are you today? So today I'll be explaining our very first applied maths AMS. Now, this is everything we took in the first week. Of course, if you missed the first week, I'll try as much to do a recap in this video. Please do not rely on this video. Again, this video is just like to check up on if you solved by yourself and you want to check your answers. Of course, you can use this video. I believe there's also one question that is wrong because I checked, my friends checked, I checked on Google as well. It's incorrect. I just need to wait to see my teacher and check with him, but I made this video in advance. And in all cases, let's get started with the video. Now, which of the following are vector quantities? This is something we've seen so many times, starting from grade 9 and then grade 10 and now grade 11 again. Now, vector quantities are quantities that have what? They both have a magnitude and what? And a direction. So it's very important for them to have what? To have a magnitude and a direction. Whereas the other quantity, which are scalar quantities, only have magnitudes. Now, what do we mean by magnitude? If you're taking, for example, force into consideration. Force, its magnitude is, for example, 5 newtons. This is what? First of all, you are sure that it has a magnitude. Now, you can have a force to be positive or negative. Because of the fact that you can have a force to be positive or negative, then you know that it has a direction. And if it has both a magnitude and a direction, then it is what? It is a vector quantity. Same thing with displacement. Displacement, for example, it can be 5 meters. It has a magnitude, but it also has a direction which can be plus or minus. Whenever you see the possibility of plus or minus, then you know it has a direction and it is a vector quantity. Same thing with velocity. You can have 5 meters per second. I don't know why I chose 5 today, but 5 it is. So 5 meters per second, right? Now, you can have positive 5 meters per second or negative 5 meters per second. Positive if you're going in the positive direction, negative if you're going in the negative direction. This indicates that we have a direction because it has both a magnitude and a direction, then it is what? It is a vector quantity. Now, time. You can take, for example, 5 minutes. Now, can you say that the time is plus 5 minutes? No, you cannot look now. For example, the time for me right now is 9:57. I cannot say the time is plus 9:57. No, it doesn't make sense. I cannot say that it's minus 9:57. So time has a magnitude, right? But it does not have a direction. Because it does not have a direction, right? We will say that it's a scalar magnitude. Same thing with the mass. For example, mass, let's say any random mass. For example, my copybook weighs 2 kg, a very heavy copybook, right? 2 kg. I cannot say that it weighs plus 2 kg. I cannot say that it weighs minus 2 kg. Have you ever witnessed something that has a negative mass? No, because it does not have a direction. That means mass is what? It is not a vector quantity. So the only vector quantities in this question are force, displacement, and velocity. Now, let's move on to the second question. In the square A, B, C, and D, M is the midpoint of CD. Please, whenever you're doing the exam, read everything to know how to solve. M is the midpoint of CD, and N is the midpoint of AD. Vectors A and B, where are A and B? This is A, so A is pointing to the right, and B is pointing upwards, are represented in magnitude and direction by AB and AD. Now, what is the question? What do they want from us? What, in terms of A and B, is the expression of vector MN? Pay attention, they said vector. What does vector mean? Vector means it has a starting point and an ending point, right? So vector MN, usually the first letter is the starting point and the last letter is what? It is the ending point. So in this case, M is going to be our starting point and N is going to be what? It's going to be our ending point. So M is our starting, N is our ending point. Now, there are two ways to do this. There's either the really smart and easy way to do this directly, you can see it, I'm not going to spoil it yet, or there's the very long and complicated and unnecessary way that you can do. Now, personally, of course, I'm not going to do the long and complicated and annoying way that's going to take me 10 years to finish and the exam will finish by the time I finish solving it. I'm not going to do this. What am I going to do? I'm going to do the easy and simple way. So when you're looking at the graph, think of, okay, I'm starting at M, right? Because M is my starting point. What is the easiest way or the fastest way I can get to N? It's definitely, first of all, I go from M to D, right? So first thing, I go from M to D. And then from D, I go to N. So this is the fastest and quickest way, right? Now, here is something very important. They told us what? They told us it's square ABCD. Because it is a square, what does this mean? This means that DC, right, is parallel to what is parallel to AB. And because they are parallel, that means what? That means they are the same value. So because it's a square, of course, that means AB, right, is equal to DC. So of course in this direction, it's gonna be A. But as you can see, the value of MD is pointing to the left, whereas DC is going to the right. Now, because they're in opposing directions, what does this mean? This means that MD, first of all, is gonna be negative because it is in opposing directions. And they told us that M is the midpoint of CD. Because of this, we will know that MD is what? MD is half of CD. And what did we say is CD or DC? CD or DC is very simply A. And just like that, I have the value of what? I have the value of MD, right? Okay, so I forgot to write something important. To go from M to N, right? It's equal to what? It's equal to going from M to D plus from D to N. So we already found MD, which is minus 1 over 2A. What's left for us to find is what is DN. How do we find DN? Very simply, we know that DA, this is DA, is parallel to CB, right? Now, because they are parallel, that means they're gonna be equal, right? So if this is B, then this is also gonna be B. This is unnecessary information. I just added it so in case a question different comes in the exam, you will know how to solve it, okay? So for now, we know what? We know that DA is equal to B, and we know that N is the midpoint of AD. What does this mean? This means that DN, right? DN is equal to 1 over 2 of what? Of DA. And DA, as you can see, it's going in the opposite direction. Because it's going in the opposite direction, it's gonna be what? It's gonna be minus B, sorry. So DA is equal to minus B. What are we left with? Only thing we're left with is substituting. So DN is equal to minus 1 over 2B. So now we will add them together. We have the value of MD and DN. Let us add them together. It's gonna be very simply that MN is equal to MD, which is minus 1 over 2A, plus DN, which is what? Which is minus 1 over 2B. So very simply, this is our answer. Let's move on to the next question. Consider, okay, what you need to do, because we started applied math, what we need to do in this exam is we need to read every single word and take out every single detail. Now, consider a vector V. Vector V is like this, of magnitude 8. Another term for magnitude, we can represent it by R. So it has a magnitude of 8, having the same direction. What does the same direction? Direction means the angle, or direction means the polar angle, or theta, right? So theta is equal to what? Is equal to the theta of V1. So theta of this is equal to theta of V1. Okay, so what did we understand? For vector V, it has a magnitude of 8, and its theta is equal, so the theta of V is equal to the theta of V1. Now we finished with V, let us move on to V1. Vector V1 has a magnitude R of 4, and pay attention, they did not say theta, they said bearing. What does bearing mean? Bearing means it starts from the north, right? So if you were to draw this, let's plot it together. Remember, never eat shredded wheat. My English teacher taught me this. Never eat shredded wheat, okay? Now, what do we know about bearings? Bearings start from the north. So when they say a bearing of 120 degrees, where do we start from? We start from the north, right? So this is what? This is 90 degrees, and then we will have an additional 30 degrees over here. So this is, in total, it's gonna be what? In total, all of this is 120 degrees, right? A bearing. But now, what is the difference between a bearing and a theta? Very simply, a bearing, as we said, it starts from the north, whereas theta, it starts from positive x-axis. What does it mean? Where's the positive x-axis? This is our x-axis over here, but the positive x-axis is here, okay? So when we are dealing with theta, we're always starting from the positive x-axis, okay? So we know that this is our positive x-axis, okay? Now, let us find theta or theta. Very simply, in order to find theta, you could do it two ways. You will start from the positive x-axis and you can go clockwise. If you go clockwise, you will take a negative angle, okay? Whereas if you go anti-clockwise, you will take a positive direction. So let's say I want clockwise, okay? What is this angle? This angle was 30 degrees. How did we find it? Because we know the total is 120 and this is 90 degrees. So what's left for me is 30 degrees. But is it 30 degrees? No. Why? Because it's going in the clockwise direction. Because it's going in the clockwise direction, we will put a negative for it. So it's negative 30 degrees. This is definitely one option. Another option to be done is going in the anti-clockwise direction. So if you did go in the anti-clockwise direction, you would start from here and you'd go all the way here. And you will find out that this is how much. This is 330 degrees. Now, because it's anti-clockwise, it will have a positive direction. Okay, now this is all in order to find what? In order to find the value of theta. We know now that theta of V1 is equal to minus 30 degrees or 330 degrees. But we also know that theta of V is equal to theta of V1. So this is also equal to what? It's also equal to theta of V. Okay, so now we have what? We have the full answer of V. We can now fully write V. Okay, V is now what? V is now having a magnitude of 8 and a theta of either minus 30 degrees or 330 degrees. Now, they want us what? This is not what they want from us. They told us vector V can be written in the form of V equals this, where I and J are unit vectors pointing due east and north, respectively. Now, if you want to solve it using the triangle method, you can, of course. What does the triangle method mean? Because look, this was what we had over here, right? And this is our theta. Our theta is how much? Our theta is 30 degrees. So using the triangle method, okay, let me just extend this. Using the sine, cosine, or the so, ka, toa, using this method, okay, you will be able to find what? You'll be able to find the value of I and J, where I is the value of X, okay, and J is the value of Y, right? Okay, so I is X and J is Y. Type, what is X and what is Y? This is the axes, right? So this is the X axis. This means that this is I, and this, okay, this is the y-axis, and this is parallel to it. So this means it's also the y-axis. So this means that this is J, right? So, of course, we also have the magnitude. What's our magnitude? It's 8. Using this method, using the triangle method and SOHCAHTOA, you'll be able to find what? You'll be able to find the side of I and the side of J. Of course, you only use SOHCAHTOA if it's a right triangle, and of course, this is a right triangle. Okay, this is the first method of doing it. Let me just solve it quickly. If I want to find I, is it opposite or adjacent to the angle? First of all, I is adjacent to the angle. So whenever it's adjacent, you will be using what? You will be using cosine. Now, there is an equation you need to remember. In order to find either I or J, it's what? It's magnitude times either cosine or sine, what? Theta. Okay? This if you want to find if you want to find I or J. So in this case, we know to use cosine, okay? So it's gonna be the magnitude, which is 8 times the cosine, which is cosine 30. Oh, but I did a mistake. I forgot to add the negative. If I did not put the negative, I will get a different answer, okay? So 8 times cosine minus 30, I will get an answer, which is 4 radical 3, right? So over here, it's 4 radical 3. Now, for J, how do I find the value of J? This is opposite to the angle. Because it's opposite, I will be using this equation, right? So it's gonna be the magnitude, which is 8 times what? Times sine, which is sine, the angle theta, which is what? Which is minus 30. So 8 times sine minus 30, I will get an answer of minus 4. Now, this is one way to do it, which is the really long way. Another shorter way is to remember it like this. Okay, this is for all vectors, right? So let's say it's a vector V, okay? It's gonna be equal in general to what? To m times cosine theta I plus m times sine theta j. So you can do all this method. Okay, so the general equation you can remember, instead of doing all of this and wasting all of your time in the exam, the general equation you can remember is what? Is that the vector V is equal to what? Is equal to magnitude times cosine theta, okay, plus magnitude times sine theta. And of course, do not forget the I and J. So in this case, if I'm gonna use this, we know that vector V has a magnitude of 8 and a theta of minus 30 or 330 degrees, right? Okay, so I'm gonna do what? Vector V is equal to what? Is equal to the magnitude times cosine theta I plus the magnitude times sine theta j. Now I'll put it on my calculator. Okay, so 8 times cosine minus 30. I will get an answer of 4 radical 3i plus 8 times sine minus 30, which is minus 4j. Now, respectively, A is 4, B is 3, and C is minus 4. Okay, so 4, 3, and minus 2, my bad, minus 4. Let's move on to the next question. Now, A, B, C, D, E is a pentagon with vectors P, Q, S, and R are represented in magnitude and direction by AB, BC, ED, and AE respectively. Determine for each expression to what vector it corresponds. Now, I know this question is a bit it's hard to understand what they want at first. But very simply, all I'm gonna say is they are looking for what? They are looking for the expression, okay? So let's do the first one together and maybe it will be a bit clearer. They want minus P plus R. طيب, if minus P is the opposite direction of P and P is going kind of up, so that means minus P is gonna be going down. It's gonna be going, my bad, I cannot trace it. It's gonna be going in this direction. Plus R, R is going in which direction? R is going in this direction. Right, so we have minus P plus R. Okay, so now what do? Now we take the starting point, right? Where's the starting point? The starting point is at letter B, and the ending point is at letter E. So the starting point and the ending point, and we will connect them together, and we will get which vector? We will get vector BE. Very simply, this is how you are gonna solve it. Right. The next one is this one. Look at this one, pay attention. Minus P goes like this. Minus Q goes like this. Plus R goes like this, plus S goes like this. طيب, where is the starting point? The starting point is over here. And where is the ending point? The ending point is over here. So which vector does it make? It makes vector CD, right? We'll move on to the next one, which is minus R plus, let me zoom out a bit, plus P plus Q, right? So minus R goes like this. Wait. Minus R plus P, which goes like this, plus Q, which goes like this. So where is the starting point? The starting point is over here at E, and the ending point is over here at C. So if you connect it together, you will get what? You will get vector EC. We'll move on to the next one, which is R plus S. So very simply, it's R like this, and then S like this. Excuse me. So where is the starting point? The starting point is over here, and where is the ending point? Ending point is over here. So it's vector what? It's vector AD. Right, so the answers are what? The answers, this is question number 4, are BE, CD, EC, and AD. Let's move on to question number 5. Here, this is the one that I think it is wrong, because I tried and my friends tried and Google tried, and no one was able to get the correct answer in the quiz. So I will give you my answer. I will give you the answer of the quiz. Please check with your teachers. I believe that, in my opinion, it's wrong. And please do check with your teachers though. So, point A, okay? 4 centimeter, 7 centimeter, right? Change it directly to Cartesian form, because I saw from before they wanted Cartesian form. I will change it directly to Cartesian form. So A is gonna be what? A is gonna be 4 centimeter I, don't forget the unit, 4 centimeter I, plus 7 centimeter J. And B, also write it in Cartesian form. It's gonna be 2 centimeter I minus 2 centimeter J, right? And what do they need? They gave us vector BC. What is vector BC? Vector BC is 3 centimeter I plus 4 centimeter J. So now, what do we need to find? We need to find vector AC in Cartesian form, right? We need to find vector AC. So now, I'm going to explain something very important. First of all, how did we get BC? BC is the last term, or the term to the right, minus the term to the left. So it's the last term minus the first term. So in this case, it's going to be C minus B is equal to what? Is equal to BC, right? And so if I want to find AC, that means AC is what? AC is C minus A, right? So in order for me to find AC, I need to find the value of C, right? So how do I find the value of C? Let's look. Let's ignore this equation for 1 second. And let's see. I have BC, which is 3 centimeter I plus 4 centimeter J. I also have B, which is what? Which is 4 centimeter I plus 7 centimeter J, right? Now all I need to find is what? Is C. How do I find C? Very simply, I move this to the other side. So now C is equal to B plus BC, right? So now it's going to be what? It's going to be 4 centimeter I plus 7 centimeter J, okay, plus 3 centimeter I plus 4 centimeter J, okay? Now, let's add everything together. When we add everything together, stop. I did one mistake. You see, I didn't pay attention. So I chose instead of B what? I chose instead of BA. So if you do this mistake in the exam, you're going to lose marks. So please pay attention. Don't do what I did. So B is this one, actually. B is 2 centimeter I minus 2 centimeter J, right? So it's going to be 2 centimeter I minus 2 centimeter J plus this, okay? So 2 centimeter I plus 3 centimeter I, you only add the i's together. And then minus 2 centimeter J plus 4 centimeter J, you only add the j's together, okay? Add them. What are you going to get? You're going to get 5 centimeter I, okay, plus 2 centimeter J. Now, this is the value of what? This is the value of C. Now that I have the value of C, let me find what? Let me find the value of AC. So, A is what? Is 4 centimeter I plus 7 centimeter J. Okay? I will use it now with C in order to find what? In order to find AC. AC is equal to C minus A. AC is what? We need to find it. Is equal to C, which is 5 centimeter I plus 2 centimeter J minus, don't forget the minus, 4 centimeter I plus 7 centimeter J, okay? Don't forget that the minus will distribute among both of them. So when it distributes among both of them, it's going to be like this. So 5 centimeter I minus 4 centimeter I will give me a value of 1 centimeter I. And then 2 centimeter J minus 7 centimeter J is going to give me a value of minus 5 centimeter J. Now, as much as I try, as much as I search on Google, as much as my friends try, we all get this answer. Okay, so this, in my opinion, is the correct answer. And there is something wrong here, because what did they put in the answer key? They put that it's 1 centimeter I minus 1 centimeter J. Okay, so it is 1 centimeter plus minus 1. This is what they want in the answer key. But what is the correct answer? The correct answer is 1I plus minus 5 J. Let us move on to the next question, which is question number 6. Now, the polar coordinates. What do polar coordinates mean? Polar coordinates means that we have r, which is the magnitude, and theta, okay? Or the angle of elevation, or the polar angle. It is expressed in x and y coordinates as ai plus bj. Find a and b, okay? So, very simply, what we need to do over here is we need to graph it, okay? First of all, let's start. What is theta? Theta is the angle from positive x-axis. Where is our positive x-axis? It is over here. So the angle from the positive x-axis is how much? Is 30 degrees. So this is what? This is 30 degrees. And how much is the magnitude? The magnitude is 4. Okay? Now, using this, we'll be able to find I and J. But remember that I is x and J is y. What do we mean by x and y? First of all, this over here is I, which is basically x. And this over here is what? Is J, which is basically y. Now, very simply, in order to solve this, we will need to apply the SOHCAHTOA rule, okay? Now, we need to find what? We need to find the value of I, or x. How do we do this? Very simply, we know that this side is adjacent to the angle, right? Which is adjacent to the angle? Cosine is adjacent to the angle. So very simply, you will do magnitude times what? Cosine 30. And here, this is opposite to the angle, right? It's opposite to 30 degrees. So which one is opposite? This one. For now, we're not going to be using any of TOA. Why? Because always the magnitude is the hypotenuse, right? So it's going to be what? It's going to be 4 times sine 30. Now, this is the long way. Or, again, you could have used the memorized way. What is the memorized way? Memorized way is what? It is the magnitude times cosine angle, which in this case is cosine theta, which in this case is 30i, plus 4 times sine 30j. Okay, put it on your calculators. 4 times cosine 30, you will get an answer of 2 radical 3. Right? And 4 times sine 30, you will get an answer of 2. So it's 2 radical 3i plus 2j. I think they needed to two significant figures. So what is 2 radical 3 to two significant figures? It is 3.5i, and this is plus 2.0j. Okay, so 3.5i and 2.0j. We'll move on to the next question. Consider the following two position vectors. A of magnitude 12 kilometers and direction this, and B of magnitude whatever and direction and bearing this. Now, what I propose is whatever you get, sketch it. Okay? So, first of all, remember, never eat shredded wheat. Now, the first vector, vector A, has a magnitude of 12 kilometers and a direction of E60 south. What does E60 south mean? First of all, it's in between east and south. So you will draw the vector in between east and south, and it has what? It has 12 kilometers. Now, E60 south, what does it mean? It means directly after E, you will see the angle, right? So E, then directly after E, you will see the angle, which is 60 degrees, and then south, right? So the black one is going to be A. Whereas the blue one, it's going to be B. B has a magnitude of 20 kilometers and a bearing of 300 degrees. So first of all, let us do the bearing of 300 degrees. Bearing, remember, it always starts from the north. So 300 degrees, this is 90 and 90, 180 plus another 90. That is 270. So 300 minus 270, it will leave me with 30, right? So over here, I have the angle to be 30 because this is 90 and 90 and 90. Okay, and how much is the magnitude? The magnitude is 20 kilometers. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Now here is why we needed to sketch. What do they need? They want us to find the sum of A plus B expressed in unit vectors or expressed in Cartesian method. So in order for us to do it in the Cartesian method, we will first need to change A and B into what? Into Cartesian. Let's first of all start with A. We know that for any equation, the let's call it vector v. Vector v, the Cartesian is what? It is magnitude times cosine theta I plus magnitude times sine theta j, right? So for A, its magnitude is 12 kilometers times cosine theta. Let us find theta together. Remember that theta is what? Theta, this over here, it is the angle made with positive x-axis. So where's the positive x-axis? It's over here. This angle can either go what? It can either be positive by going anti-clockwise, or it can be negative by going clockwise. So in this case, you can go anti-clockwise and you can find the theta, or you can go clockwise and find the theta. You will get the same answer. I prefer to go clockwise because we already have the angle, which is 60 degrees. But if we go clockwise, should it be positive or negative? It should be negative, so we will give it a minus. So 12 times cosine negative 60 degrees I plus 12 times sine minus 60 degrees j. Okay, so this is A, done. Let's move on to B. B is equal to the magnitude, which is 20, times what? Times cosine theta. Let us find the theta of B together. So B is the blue vector, right? So we can either find theta by going anti-clockwise like this, or, this is clockwise. We can find, theta by going clockwise like this, or what? Or anti-clockwise like this. Either or, you will get the same exact answer. So in this case, I prefer to go anti-clockwise. So if I go anti-clockwise, the answer needs to be positive, right? So if this is 90 degrees and this is 30 degrees, then this is 90 minus 30, which is what? Which is 60. So now this is what? This is all 90 plus 60 degrees, which is what? Which is 150 degrees. And because it's anti-clockwise, it is positive. So now you just put it 20 times cosine 150i plus 20 times sine 150j. Okay, now let us find A. A is equal to 12 times cosine minus 60, which is 6i, plus 12 times sine minus 60, that's going to be minus 6 radical 3j. And then let us find B. B is 20 times cosine 150, which is minus 10 radical 3i, plus 20 times sine 150, 10j. Now, what do they need? They need a plus b. Let's add a and b. It's going to be 6i plus minus 10 radical 3i. And then minus 6 radical 3j plus 10j. So, again, 6 minus 10 radical 3i plus 10 minus 6 radical 3j. So, 6 minus 10 radical 3i plus 10 minus 6 radical 3j. That is it for question number 7. Let's move on to question number 8. Now, drag and drop the correct terms from the box below to express each of the following. So we need to express each of the following using Mariner's compass. These, they didn't tell us what they are, so I'm just gonna assume that they are what they are bearings, okay? They didn't tell me that they are theta, first of all. They would have mentioned if they are theta. And they didn't tell me that they are the, what's it called? I forgot its name. The angle of elevation, they didn't mention it. And I forgot the last name for it, my bad. Don't forget it, guys. It might come in the exam, by the way. I think I said it previously before. So yeah, I'm just gonna assume that these are bearings. What do bearings mean? Bearings mean that we start from the north. So let's plot it. North, east, south, west, never each shredded wheat, right? First thing we have is 60 degrees bearing. If it's 60 degrees bearing, that means from the north, you will come and you will draw 60 degrees, okay? Second one we have, it's 300 degrees bearing, meaning that you will come from the north and go over here and you'll have how much? 300 degrees. Okay, so what is left over here? Over here you have left 60 degrees. Now, they want us to find, using Mariner's compass, the equivalence of 60 degrees, okay? 60 degrees, as you can see over here, it is what? It can be written as what? It can be written as north 60 degrees east, or it can be written, don't forget that this is also 30 degrees, or it can be written as what? As east 30 degrees north, right? So this is what? This is east 30 degrees north. Why? Because this isn't in any of our options, so we'll use the second option. Now, 300 degrees, okay? But we still ended up somehow with 60 degrees over here. So it's all from the north till this over here. It was all 300 degrees and we're left with 60 degrees over here. So we're gonna focus on this area, right? Because this is where the vector is, okay? So we have 60 degrees over here and 30 degrees over here. So it's either north 60 degrees west or west 30 degrees north. So west 30 degrees north also works. So it's east 30 degrees north and west 30 degrees north. Okay, so that is it for question number 8. We'll move on to question number 9. Now, coordinates of V, okay? What do we have first of all? We have A. A, let's write it in Cartesian form. A minus 3 centimeter, don't forget your unit. I plus 4 centimeter J. Then we have B. B is 5 centimeter I, and then 0 centimeter J, you don't need to write it, okay? Then we have AC. What is AC? AC is what? C minus A, right? Okay? And what is AC? AC, it is what? It is 3I plus 4J. And don't forget the centimeter, of course. And they want us to find what? They want us to find V, which is 3AC minus 2BA. Stop. What do they need? 3AC minus 2BA. We have AC. We know what AC is. So all we need to do is find BA. How do we find BA? Very simply. BA is equal to A minus B, because it's the second minus the first, right? Or the last minus the first. So it's going to be minus 3I. Let's just do it like this. Plus 4J, okay? Minus 5I, and then there's no J. So do it. You will get minus 8I plus 4J, okay? Now we have what? We have AC. We know it's 3I plus 4J centimeter. And then BA, it is what? It is minus 8I plus 4J centimeter. Now, we need to do it based on this equation. So it's going to be 3 times AC. What is AC? AC is 3I plus 4J, right? Minus 2 times BA, which is minus 8I plus 4J. Expand now. 9I plus 12J plus 16I minus 8J, right? So now you'll get 25I plus 4J. Very simply, that's our answer. 25i plus 4j, and don't forget the units, which is centimeter. Now, very important question. When we're dealing with these, okay, we always assume that that the initial point or the tail is located at 0, 0. They're asking us, what if the tail is located at -1 centimeter, 2 centimeter? So what happened to the tail? How much did it move? It went -1 from the x and +2 from the y. So this, of course, it's what? It's the head. Okay? And the tail was at 0, 0. So we moved the tail by subtracting 1 from the x and adding 2 to the y. Very simply, what will we do to the head then? Because they are collinear, they're on the same line, and they will move if the line moves as well. So that means to the head, which is 25, 4, we will subtract 1 and add 2. So it's going to be 24 and 6, right? So 24 and 6. We move on to question number 10. What does it say in question number 10? The two forces acting on a particle are given by F1 equals I minus 2j and F2 equals 2I plus 6j. What are the components of the resultant force? Whenever they ask for resultant force, you're gonna add both of the forces together, right? So force 1 plus force 2 equals F. Force 1 is I minus 2j plus force 2, which is 2I plus 6j, right? How much will it be? It will be I plus 4j. Or sorry, 3i plus 4j, because I thought this was minus. So this is going to be I plus 2i, which is 3i, and then minus 2j plus 6j, which is what? Which is 4j. So it's 3i plus 4j, and don't forget the units, which is meters. Now, they're asking for the magnitude of the resultant force F. So you can do this in many ways. You can either plot it, and you can say that I is x, so to move 1, 2, 3 from the x, and 1, 2, 3, 4 from the y, so it's going to be like this, right? And this is what? This is a right triangle. And this is 3, this is 4. You can do Pythagorean theorem. 3 squared plus 4 squared will give us 5. This is one way. And actually from this way we got the equation, which is to do what? To do radical x squared plus y squared. So in this case it's radical 3 squared plus 4 squared, which is what? Which is 5. And don't forget the units, which is Newton. So now we will move on to the next question, which is question number 11. The initial velocity, right? Initial velocity. Velocity is what? Velocity is a vector of a bullet is given by this. The unit vector, what do they need? The unit vector in direction of v. The 2 decimal places is how much? Okay. When they ask for the unit vector, you have to remember something. V is equal to what? Is equal to AI plus 3j. Not 3, sorry, bj. Okay? V is equal to AI plus bj. And u, the unit vector, is equal to what? Is equal to A over magnitude, which I will call it R because the magnitude is R. So AI over R plus bj over R, right? So again, R is what? R is the magnitude. Now we need to find the magnitude. What's the magnitude? Magnitude is radical 9 squared plus 3 squared, which will give us an answer of 3 radical 10. Okay, this is the magnitude. Now, we have A, which is 9, we have B, which is 3, and we have R, which is 3 radical 10. So let's substitute. V is what? V is 9i plus 3j. Okay, so the unit vector U is going to be 9 over the magnitude, which is 3 radical 10, plus B, which is 3 over the magnitude, which is 3 radical 10. Now you can simplify as always. So this is going to be 0.95 to the 2 decimal places and 0.32 to the 2 decimal places. 0.95 and 0.32. We'll move on to question number 12. What polar coordinate? Oh, this is what I was trying to say, the polar angle. Okay, the thing that I forgot how to say it. What polar coordinate pairs corresponds to the vector -4, -3? When they say polar coordinate pairs, you directly think of r theta. R is magnitude. Theta, when it comes to question like this, it is what? It is, of course, it is the angle made with the positive x-axis, but it's what? It's also tangent -1 y over x. Right? So let's first of all find the magnitude. We know magnitude is radical -4. Don't forget to put the brackets. Most important thing to put the brackets. -4 in brackets squared plus -3 in brackets squared. So it's like this. -4 squared plus -3 squared. You will get an answer of 5. So R is equal to 5. Now, what about theta? theta is very important. There's a trick I will tell you at the end after solving. So shift tangent what? Y, which is minus 3, over x, which is minus 4. So on your calculator, it should be tan inverse y over x, which is minus 3 over minus 4, right? You will get an answer of what? You will get an answer of 36 point, let's round it to the nearest number, which is 37, okay? But there is a trick. What is the trick? The trick is that our x is what? Our x is negative. If our x is negative, we will directly add 180. So, a new rule. If x is negative, you directly add 180 to the theta. So it's gonna be 37 plus 180, which is what? 217. Now we have r, which is 5, and we have theta, which is 217. There we go. Let's move on to question number 13. Okay. The vector OA is shown in the diagram below. The angle OA makes with positive x-axis to the nearest degree. When they say angle made with positive x-axis, they are asking for theta. Now, you may be wondering, how am I going to solve this? I don't have the angle. I know this is 90 and 90, but I don't have this angle. How am I going to solve this? Very simply, you count the blocks. How many blocks do you have in the x? You have 1, 2, 3, and 4. طيب, in the y, how many do I have? I have 1, 2, and 3. So my x is how much? My x is 4, but because it's in the negative direction, it's minus 4. And my y is how much? It's 3, but because it's in the negative direction, it's minus 3, right? So they're asking for what? They're asking for theta. Theta, again, is tangent inverse y over x, so minus 3 over minus 4. But stop. Again, our x is what? Our x is negative. Because our x is negative, we add 180. So shift tan inverse minus 3 over minus 4 plus 180. You will get what? You will get approximately 217 degrees. Okay, so our answer is 217 degrees. Now, this was what? This was the angle made with the positive x-axis, right? So, like this. Now, why did I do it anti-clockwise and not clockwise? Because it's a positive angle. If it was a negative angle, I would have done it clockwise, but it's a positive angle, so I will do it anti-clockwise. So from this, we can find the value of this angle. We know that this is 90, and we know that this is 90. So what's left over here? First of all, the total is 217. 217 minus 180 is 37. So the value left over here is 37 degrees. Now, why did I do all of this? I wanted to do all of this because they asked for the bearing of OA. When we say bearing, we mean its direction from the north, and it's always clockwise, right? So from the north, we will go like this. How much is the bearing? The bearing is 90 plus 90 plus what? Plus this over here. What is this over here? It's 90 minus 37, which is 53. So very simply, the total bearing is 90 over here, plus 90 over here, plus 53. And you will get an answer of 233 degrees. So it's 217, 233 degrees. Now, two possible ways to describe OA using Mariner's compass to the nearest degree are this and this. So remember, this was how much? This was 37 degrees, and this was 53 degrees, right? Now, if we're starting from the west, what's the angle directly next to west? It's 37. So it will be west 37 degrees south, okay? But if I started with the south, okay, it would be south, and what's the angle next to it? 53 degrees west, right? So west 37 degrees south, south 53 degrees west. So this is how much? 37, and this is how much? 53. We'll move on to question number 14. So, the position of vector A has a magnitude of how much? Of 5 kilometers. This is what magnitude R, and a heading of this. Vector OA, and we need to express it in this form. What's this form again? This form is Cartesian form. They want us to express vector OA as Cartesian form. But in order for us to express it in Cartesian form, we need to find theta. Let's find theta very simply by plotting. Never eat shredded wheat. North 30 degrees west, right? So north, what's the angle next to it directly? 30 degrees, and then west. How much is theta in this case? If we're going in the anti-clockwise direction, theta is 90 plus 30, which is 120 degrees, okay? If we're going in the clockwise direction, it's gonna be 90 plus 90 plus 60, which is what? Which is 240 degrees, but because it's going in the clockwise direction, it's negative. So 120 degrees and minus 240 degrees Either or will work. Now remember the equation. If we're looking for a vector v and we need to express it in Cartesian form, then it's gonna be what? It's gonna be magnitude cosine theta I plus magnitude sine theta j, right? So for us, we're looking at vector OA. It's gonna be the magnitude, which is 5, times cosine theta, which is 120 I, plus 5 sine 120 j. Okay? That's gonna be minus 2.5 I and how much j? And 4.3 j. Okay, so minus 2.5 I and 4.3 j. Let's move on to question number 15. In Cartesian form, again, we came across the Cartesian form. The position vector of point M. I don't know if I've seen a harder question than this. This is so hard, guys. No, it's so easy. Come on. Look, they gave you the point. You need to put it in Cartesian form. Very simply what you do, with the x, which in this case is minus 3, you will put I next to it. And with the y, which in this case is 2, you will put the j next to it. So it's what? It's minus 3i plus 2j. Now we move on to the last question, which is question number 16. Consider two vectors v and u such that v equals ai plus 7.2j and u equals 5.4i plus bj. Let r equal u plus v equal minus 5i plus 2.4j. You may look at this, you're going to be like, what is this? What am I looking at? Very simply, read it again. Consider two vectors v and u, right? Such that v is this and u is this. And what do we have? We have that r is u plus v, and it's equal to a certain value, which is minus 5i plus 2.4j, right? But what is u for us? U for us is 5.4i plus bj. And what is v for us? V for us is ai plus 7.2j, right? And it's equal to minus 5i plus 2.4j. You're going to be like, there's two unknowns. How am I going to solve this? There's not two unknowns. Very simply, you take the i's by themselves, right? And you take the j's by themselves. So it's going to be 5.4i plus ai is equal to minus 5i. And then the j, which is 5j plus 7, is it plus? No, sorry, this is b, not 5. I cannot even read my own handwriting. bj plus 7.2j is going to give us 2.4j, right? So let's solve. Here, after solving, you'll move this to the other side. You will get that a is equal to what? A is equal to minus 5.4, which is what? Which is minus 10.4. And for b, you're gonna get that b is equal to 2.4 minus 7.2, which is what? Which is minus 4.8. So it's gonna be minus 10.4, if I'm not mistaken. Minus 5 minus 5.4 minus 10.4 and minus 4.8. So that is it. Let's submit. Hopefully we don't have any mistakes. And thank God there are no mistakes. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed and have a wonderful day.